nice article in the Managing Madrid blog. Wonderful lads that do a great job there. And worth reading about that man there. Karim Benzema needs to rest, and the numbers reveal why.
Times ended up almost looking like a 6-3-1. Some very good writing about that on the Managing Madrid website. First rate podcast as well. Of course, Fede Valverde was a huge part of the equation.
This episode of the Managing Madrid podcast is brought to you by the Managing Madrid podcast live in Toronto. We're playing pickup footy on December 6th, raising money for sick kids in Toronto, giving away prizes, chatting Real Madrid with passionate Madridistas. If you want to come kick it with us, play some footy, all for a good cause. With passionate and dedicated staff, Sick Kids is much more than a hospital. They work each day to provide the best in child and family-centered care, create groundbreaking clinical and scientific advancements, and train the next generation of experts in child health. If you're anywhere near Toronto, Hamilton, Niagara, if you're in Ottawa, Montreal, heck, Moncton, Halifax, Vancouver, Buffalo, Detroit, Cleveland, New York, Philly, drive in, fly in, do whatever you have to do. We look forward to seeing your skills and helping sick kids in Toronto. If you want to attend RSVP, just click the link in the show notes or the chat if you're live on YouTube right now. All right, coming up, a very exciting episode. This is EAFC Real Madrid player ratings reaction, part 3 of 100. It's taking us forever to do this. Let's bring in Leah Ravel, who is way more fun than I am. Leah, welcome to the show.
It has taken us forever. It's because we talk a lot, Kian. That's why.
We talk too much. We literally talk too much. What do you think is what is the recap if we were to bring everyone up to speed if they missed episode 1 and 2? Apart from that, they should go listen to episode 1 and 2 of this series. But what did they miss? Do we have a recap?
I think the unanimous consensus is underrated everyone. Everyone is I just feel like the football world, it's like they hate us because we're too good, but then they don't rate us the way that we should be rated. In all things, in FC, in real life, in everything. So
the way it works, Leah, is that if they want to discredit Bellingham, they'll start to talk about how great Real Madrid's teammates are to help him. But then when it comes to this rating stuff, everyone's somehow either underrated or overrated based on the agenda they have against Real Madrid. So just to recap, everyone underrated, and then we had a whole tier for Eduardo Camavinga, who we literally, I think, was one of the last people we spoke about. Severely underrated. Eduardo Camavinga in his own category. There are just unnameable people ahead of him in the ratings chart in EAFC. All right, Leah. So we left off at Brahim Diaz. So that's where we are. I forgot to tell you this off air. I should have completely forgot, but I have to tell you this on air now. But I'm not going to do the share screen today because our social media guy is just cannot, his whole mission, his job description is create as many clips as possible for social media from these podcasts. And he's like, your faces just go too small when the share screen happens. So I can't get I can't get your faces. So I said, okay, no more share screen. We're going to just talk about it. Brahim Diaz, Leah.
Listen.
Over 82, ranked 82 overall.
I think considering what we've seen and what he's done at Milan, I think that's underrated. But I think from what he's come up from in previous years, I think 82 would suit him well if he was at Madrid before he went to Milan. Do you know what I mean? In that era, he was never bad. He always had this kind of spark. Whatever Milan did for him just really pulled that out. And now I just feel like he's sometimes I even think maybe he should be starting. You know what I mean? I love Rodrigo also, but what Brahim does on the ball is so effortless and so just natural. I think 82 for me is probably a bit low. I would like to see him more at 83, 84 this year, but I think maybe next year he'll go up after the season he's had at Madrid.
Do you feel like he is kind of unfortunate in that his timing and the teams he plays for, he won't necessarily get the recognition he deserves. So you think all the way back to his goal in Leipzig last season, the amount of times he covered when Bellingham was having that shoulder thing last season. We won every single game, and Brahim just took the Jude role and was awesome in that role. He
Yeah.
didn't get the Spain thing. We went to Morocco to play for Morocco. He's playing great for them from what I can see and what I've heard and what I've read and what I've just the highlights and stuff. Now I could be wrong, but because I don't watch Morocco, but that's what I've heard. But there's an alternate universe. He's part of the Spain team as well. He's getting the Euro recognition. But I think 82 in a vacuum is fine. I think for an important squad player. Here are the attacking midfielders who are also ranked 82.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Ready.
Malcolm.
Okay.
Who still plays football, I guess. He plays in Al Hilal. Sunset, Thomas Muller. Jonas Hoffman. Otavio. Pepe, the Porto Pepe. Not the Real Madrid defender Pepe, the attacking midfielder one. Isco, and that's the list. Those are the players who are also ranked the same as him.
Do you know what? I'm not mad at some of those. Like there's some like Malcolm. Okay. I think Otavio is actually he's had quite a few consistent seasons. He's at Al Nassr, right?
Yeah.
I think so. But like Isco, same thing. For I would say, to be honest, I know we're not doing Betis, but I would say Isco is way more should be a way higher rating based on the season he had last season than probably Brahim. Like Brahim had a really good season with us, but he was a squad player. Do you know what I mean? The season before at Milan, would have been the season that he would have been rated higher on based on the fact that he played most of those games. So I'm more surprised I'm more annoyed at the fact that Isco is only 82, considering what he did last season with Betis. But Muller too, same thing. He's getting older. He's gone down a lot. He was 86, 87, 3-4 years ago. So I'm not upset. I'm not as upset as I was with Camavinga's parts at his rating. And you know what? I think that if Brahim hadn't made that decision as quickly as he did to go to Morocco, I think for the Euros this past summer, he would have been called up.
Yeah. I think we came up with a slightly underrated category. I think the first episode we did this. I think he might fall under slightly underrated, but overall it's fine. I don't know what Malcolm is still. I honestly, it was more like these ratings ultimately make sense, and then they don't when you see some other players' ratings. I didn't know. If you ask me if Malcolm is as good as Brahim right now, I think that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I agree on the Isco part. There's not ultimately that many attacking midfielders who are actually ahead of him. So, what do you think? Brahim slightly underrated?
Yeah.
All right,
that's
cool.
fair.
We're moving at a faster pace because, as you guys know, this is taking for us forever, and we're determined to finish the entire list today. Andriy Lunin ranked 81.
Listen, he got a plus 19 or something, or plus 12 from last year. He was a silver. Now he's a gold. So I respect that. But again, after the season he had last year, in comparison to other goalkeepers, he should be way higher. Way higher. I just think that it's one of those things that he never really played, so he never got a fair rating because he just never, but to be honest, as a backup goalkeeper for the biggest club in the world for several years, to only be a silver rated card, at least he could have been gold, at least. But I think he should be significantly higher, 84, 85. To be honest, he was one of the best goalkeepers in Europe last season. So without a doubt, but it depends. What's their consistency of rating? I'm not sure. Is it based on he should, in theory, be higher rated than all the goalkeepers or most of the goalkeepers from last season? That's not realistic.
He's not.
Yeah, of course not. So I think that I would say, I would maybe even put him in Camavinga's category.
Severely underrated.
I think so.
So the big jump is good to see, and it makes sense. It would be illogical not to give him a big jump.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of feel like he could have even gotten a bigger jump. Here are the keepers that are ranked 81 as well. Alphonse Areola,
Okay.
Luis Silva, Alex Murray, Fernando Muslera, Stefan Ortega. Yeah, I don't like. Okay, I don't get some of these already. Aaron Ramsdale, David Soria, and Alvaro Valles. Those are the ones who are also ranked 81. Ranked above them, there's just too many. There's just 300 million goalkeepers ranked above him in this exercise.
No, I think that some of them, like, I'm okay.
Including Jordan Pickford, who, if if right now Everton offered us Jordan Pickford for Andriy Lunin, we would ask for at least 50 million on top.
At least. No, I think that, like, I actually rate Aaron Ramsdale a lot. I know there's some mixed opinions, and that could be an unpopular opinion, but I really like him. I think he's quite good, and I like his banter. But yeah, I just think Lunin was one of the best. And to step up the way that he stepped up after being a backup goalkeeper, like a lot of these goalkeepers that you mentioned were starting goalkeepers or are starting goalkeepers. Some of them no, some of them yes, and so
Ortega no.
I think Ramsdale, I think where did he move to? Not Nottingham. He was somewhere.
He's at Southampton.
Yeah. So I think he starts there. And then Areola, where's he? Fulham still or
West
no?
Ham.
He's still at West Ham.
Yeah.
And he starts? Or do they have
I don't know. I really don't know.
But anyways, the fact of the matter,
the last time I saw, I think, Areola play was maybe the one-handed catch. I honestly cannot remember anything from Areola since that one moment.
Well, I mean, there you go. Lunin was like the best, most talked about goalkeeper last year, and rightfully so. So I personally will put him anywhere between underrated or very underrated.
So I think like it's interesting. Areola does start for West Ham this season, according to some of the numbers I checked. But I think with the goalkeeping situation overall, once you get to like the 84 range, the truth is, and this is separate from Lunin, there are actually a lot of good goalkeepers in the world right now. And if you look at like once you get to the 84 rating in FIFA, you get like all those guys. I think most of them are deserving of high ratings. You got Bonu, Mamadashvili, Neuer, Unai Simon, Jan Sommer, Emiliano Martinez, Mainan, Gregor Kobel, Jan Oblak, Ederson, Ter Stegen, Courtois, Alisson, Donnarumma. Like those are a lot of good goalkeepers who are going to get high ratings. I think it's mostly like when we're comparing them to the Ortegas and the Pickfords who have the same rating as him. That's where you can kind of question it. Areola, etc.
Exactly.
All right. So moving on. Lucas Vazquez, 81.
Does it say what he was last year? Let me check. Listen, I think Lucas Vazquez is like one of the most underrated players of all time. I'm a big Lucas Vazquez fan.
All time. Wow.
Well, maybe not all time, but for some time. I think that people just don't. He's like one of those squad players that is priceless. Like you can't, he's not replaceable. Similar to Nacho. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And we talked about his penalties before. That's a whole other conversation. I don't know. I don't know where he gets that from. I don't know why, but a lot of people think he's a lot younger than he is too. So for me, like as a player, I think 81 again, like it's hard with these squad players because if they're not in the like starting 11 and they're being rotated significantly throughout the year, like I feel like the ratings are usually lower anyways, similar to Brahim. But I think it's like, okay. Oh, excuse me. Oh my God. I think it's okay. Like I don't expect him to be higher rated than like 84 probably ever in his current role with the team. But I think like in real life, he's just he has so much. He has leadership. He's like one of the oldest in the squad. Whatever he has for penalties, who knows? Like he's our first penalty taker sometimes, or the fifth penalty taker, which is insane. And on several occasions has stepped up, which he now will do again for Carvajal. So, I think that for FC purposes, he's probably fairly rated, maybe slightly underrated, but in real life purposes, he's severely underrated.
He is like, there are so many players who, you just kind of dread them retiring. And there are obvious ones like the greats. Like I felt that way about Marcelo for a while. Like I really can't see how, just like what we lose without him. And you're talking about Toni Kroos, and there's just so many players like that, right? Vazquez and Nacho really fit that bill to me, like in a different way. It's like you just need those spiritual leaders who are okay with doing anything you ask them. Like you need those players in the squad at all times. So you already miss Nacho. That's pretty clear this season already.
Yeah.
You're going to miss Vazquez. Yesterday, it just came across my feed on YouTube. It was like an 11-minute video, the full penalty shootout versus Manchester City. No like music, just pure commentary and live, like what it was on the TV screen. And it was riveting. Like it was riveting. And as you know, like I've been battling pneumonia the past few days. So I was like, there's only so much I could do. So I was watching that, just glued to my set, knowing the outcome fully, the tension, everything. And the scene of him just juggling up ice cold is just incredible. Really incredible. Like that needs to be immortalized and hung in the Louvre.
Literally, especially that's not the first, like Atletico Madrid when he's spinning the ball on his finger too. Like to do that twice in a Champions League, like important quarterfinal, semifinal, final, whatever. I don't know how he does it. I don't know where he gets that kind of like confidence from in penalty shootouts, but yeah. Goddamn.
So Vazquez, I think to be honest, I'm okay with his rating here.
Yeah, I
81
agree.
for a backup right back, who is now the starting right back for not good reasons, because we lost our best right back. But I don't know. Vazquez 81, I'm fine with, to be honest.
Yeah, me too. I'm fine with that.
All right. Accurately rated Lucas Vazquez. We have a super chat about Arda Guler, which we're going to save because in a few minutes, we're actually going to talk about Guler's FC rating. So bear with us. Next up, Dani Ceballos, 79. So we've officially crossed the barrier of 80 and 90s rated players. We're getting into the 70s range. Dani Ceballos, 734th ranked player in this game, 79. What do you think?
Listen, I think I'm not sure. I'm not sure what train I'm on for Ceballos, because sometimes he just like blows me away. I'm like, wow, is this really like what he's capable of? And then sometimes I'm like, okay. Pre-Arsenal, I was like, meh. And then he kind of like found his whatever at Arsenal. And then he came back. And ever since he's come back, he's been quite good. Like he's played in important matches. He's been a game changer when he's been subbed on. I think 79 is a little low, considering that like I've seen so many compilations on Twitter and stuff of like Pedri and Gavi and
Right.
it being quoted saying like Ceballos will literally do this like in his 4 minutes once every 3 months, So I do think that like his skill and his, I think he should be higher. I think he should be at least 80. I think I would be comfy with 80.
So I think the problem with him is that he had a really poor year last year.
Yeah.
And these ratings are taken into consideration basically the season and probably some of the summer with the Euros and stuff.
Yeah.
And he had a poor season and he was injured for a lot of it. And he didn't do much, I think, to justify boosting his ratings, which I think it may have been 79 last year as well. I could be wrong on that, but it was it wasn't a jump anyway from last year.
Right.
I would argue actually like 2 years ago, his rating should have been higher than what it was.
Yeah.
It was it wasn't like to your point about Pedri and all this too. And look, Pedri's the better player. I'm not going to sit here and debate it necessarily. And it was an uncomfortable discussion though for Barca fans because I so much of like the PR of Gavi, for example, everything, all of Ceballos' metrics were better than Gavi's.
Yeah.
When we were like looking at these numbers and we were looking at what Ceballos has contributed off the bench in the Champions League and how good of a ball progressor he is when he does play to his best. He is kind of one of those players who is very polarizing because for reasons that you said, he has a pretty high ceiling, but his floor is like basement dwelling. Like it's like underneath the earth what his floor is. And I think that's part of the reason. But he has a huge variability in his performances. Look, if he can stay healthy, which he can't so far this season, he has a specific skill set that actually the team really needs.
Yeah.
But that's separate from kind of some of the FC ratings. 79. I don't know. For a player who didn't play last year, it's hard for me to really fight it.
That's the thing. It's like in the game, based on how we know they rate the players, I think it's fine. In real life, I think he's probably more like relative, which would make him probably 80, 81. But for FC purposes, I'm okay. I'm okay.
Yeah. Okay. Accurately rated?
Yeah.
That might change next year. All right. Fran Garcia ranked 78th. Or sorry, he has a rating overall of 78.
This underrated.
Really? Okay. Make the
underrated.
case.
I think that he offers a lot more than he's way more important in matches than what people might see. You know what I mean? Like his overlap, his off the ball movement, the way he breaks lines, his explosiveness as just like a player, let alone a fullback. I think that he's very good, like very, very good. And he's not the most consistent, perhaps. Like sometimes he'll have a stinker here and there. It's hard for me to choose. Like if we had to choose between Mendy and Fran Garcia, I would probably choose Mendy most of the time, just based on his defensive ability. But in comparison to how Real Madrid have played over the last, or like the system they have set up with over the last like couple decades, we've historically had these attacking, overlapping fullbacks. And I think Fran Garcia fits that profile a little bit more than Mendy does, because Mendy, as we know, isn't the most offensive, doesn't offer the most. He's rapid, and he, like, defensively, he's a wall, usually. He's like Militao, like a wall, until he has this one, like, random shocker of, like, a mistake that leads to a goal. And then you're like, how did that even happen? Like, Militao will, like, die on the line for the ball. Like, do you know the saying, like, get the player or the ball, but not both? Let the player go by or the ball go by, but not both.
Yeah.
And like Militao, I feel like that's like in Militao's like blood, until like one time he's like, whoop, and like it's the most ridiculous mistake or deflection or anyway. So I feel like Mendy has that in him a little bit as well. But I don't know. I think 78 is way, 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 way too low for Fran Garcia. I think he should be like at 82 at least.
Interesting.
Go ahead.
Yeah, finish your thought.
I was just going to say, given his importance to us over the past, like, I think that 78 is like, I think, insultingly low for him, especially if Ceballos is 79. Do you know what I mean? Different positions, obviously, but like, yeah, I think that he should be very much higher.
So that's interesting. I mean, I don't see it that way. I would kind of put him in the accurate, maybe the I was going to say accurately rated. Maybe our settlement on this is somewhere in the middle, which is slightly underrated. I guess that would be possibly, when we haven't disagreed much, but when we do disagree, that I think maybe we just kind of take the average of our opinions. I think part of it is that, first of all, he's actually had a really good year this year. This season, he's been very good. I think he's actually outplayed Mendy. His transition defense has actually been pretty good, and he's providing some good overloads. You can kind of see the offensive dynamics just shift ever so slightly when he's on the field on that wing over Mendy. Having said that, these ratings do not account what's happening this season. And I thought last season he was disappointing overall. There were games I thought that stood out that were good. He had that one game early on off the bench where he comes in and I think he had 2 assists right away. Maybe one of them was to Joselu, maybe both of them. I'm not even sure. And then he had another game against Union Berlin away. That was a very positive performance. And he had several games like that. But I don't know, 78. Tierney, 79. Alex Moreno, 79. Mittelstadt, 79. Destin, Lucas Digne, 79. Chilwell, 79. I don't know. I'm okay with it, to be honest.
I think that is he 78 or 79? He's 78, right?
Fran Garcia, 78.
Yeah, I think he should be at least 80. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't think he should be upwards of like 83. I definitely don't think he's like one of the better fullbacks. And it's weird because I feel like just in Europe in general, there's not like an abundance of like world-class fullbacks at the moment. Like there's just not, So do I feel like there are other fullbacks that are way more offensive and like can overlap way more and way better in attack? I do. Do I feel like there are fullbacks that are way more defensive that can you can rely on a little bit more than Fran Garcia? I do. Is my opinion perhaps a little skewed based on his performance this year? Maybe. But I think that if you again matched him beside a Kieran Tierney or a Moreno or a Digne at 75 or however old he is now, I think that he would outplay them significantly. Granted, Digne is old and that's why he's rated like that. Chilwell's been injured for 75 years, so that's why he's rated like that. That's a bummer actually, because Ben Chilwell I really rate. I think he would have been so good. Anyway. So I would say I think we can agree somewhere he's slightly underrated then.
Okay, slightly underrated. That's the compromise.
I don't think he should be so high. I think that 78 is insulting, but I think 83 would probably be too high. I think he should be somewhere in the middle around 80.
So we'll go with slightly underrated. We're getting to one of the most interesting ones, in my opinion, of this whole exercise, which is Arda Guler.
Yeah.
Apparently the 967th best player in this video game, on the men's side of things anyway. A rating of 78. He got 3 bonus points for shooting since last season and 1 for dribbling. Everything else stayed the same. We have 2 super chats about this. We'll read both super chats.
Okay.
And we'll let that guide our discussion. First of all, a shout out to our new YouTube member, Aravind. Welcome to the family, Aravind. You're going to get a ton of bonus content in return. Access to Zoom calls, live, speak to us. Very happy to have you in the family. And if you guys want to join the family too, just hit join underneath this video. Or hit the memberships tab on YouTube, or go to patreon.com/managingmadrid. Pranav Jadhav says, what would Guler be end of season / start of FC 26? And Yalim says, ignoring the fact that I'm a Fenerbahce fan and have watched Arda since he was 15, if Arda did what he did in the Euros for England, he would have been rated 84.
I agree.
I think it's a valid point.
No, I agree 100%. The way that, listen, side note, everything aside, in football, in the video game, in everything in the world, but mostly football, even, FC aside, the English bias, the Prem bias it's so insane. So I fully agree. Do I think that the ratings are based on unfortunately, I feel like anything outside the top 5 leagues just aren't really they're not as followed as much even by like the people working on the video game. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like it's very rare that we see, like, Cristiano, for example, playing in Saudi has his rating because he was Cristiano.
Yeah.
But like, no one coming up has that rating while they're still playing outside of the top 5. And I think that's just ignorance, to be honest. So no one really saw that he was like a diamond in Turkey too before he came to Spain. Like, there's a reason why he got signed, you know? Do I think that he showed enough? He did get this is his first year in the game, or was he in it last year? No, I think he might have been in it
Well,
last year for match day.
well, he must have been. I mean, not for.
Check.
He must have been. Look, I haven't played FC since 22, but why wouldn't he have been?
Yeah, he was. But I'm wondering the year before. Let me check what he was.
You're talking about 23?
I wonder if he was with like Fenerbahce in 23 in the game. Last year he would have been.
If they were in the game, he would have been, because he was actually a pretty like prominent player for them.
Yeah. Okay, so last year he was 77. That's what I'm saying. Like, he was like a very.
So he got a 2-point jump since last season. What was he the year before that?
That's what I'm looking. So, Arda.
I just searched Guler in FC in FIFA 23 database, and it said.
Oh, do you know what? He was probably too young.
Interesting.
Maybe to be in the game.
Well, okay. So here's probably the reason for it is because that game was based on 22.
Yeah.
Right. 23 was based on 22, and in 22 he probably was not a known commodity. 23 is the year he started playing. And by then the game was already made. So that would actually make sense then. So then last year would have been his first appearance in the video game. So he debuted at 77 and he jumped 2 points to 79 this season.
Yeah, I think that, like, again, if he had not been playing in Turkey before that, he probably would have been higher. If he wasn't super young, he probably would have been higher. Do I think he deserves to be rated like at least 84 this year, even just based on what we've seen? Of course. Based on what he's contributed, of course. Next year, I think he'll jump. To be honest, I think that they'll probably disrespect him next year, and he'll only jump from like 79 to like 82.
It depends on how much he plays this year, which like so far he's basically already played more than he had last year.
Yeah.
So the problem with last year is that he didn't play all season and then he came back and he played a little bit and he played really well. But so I can understand why he didn't jump much from there. But then you had a whole Euros to see him as a breakout star.
Yeah.
And I felt like that should have counteracted that.
I
almost don't even want to check the players that are ahead of him, to be honest.
No,
I feel like I'll pop a blood vessel, I think.
Yeah. No, I think that people like, I think that his rating in the game is like literally only because of those factors, because he's young, because he like came from Turkey, or he came from outside of top 5, and he's at the moment a rotation player. But I think that even with the Euros, they might have even been too late to contribute to the game this year. I don't know. I'm gonna.
Yeah, I don't know. Like you would know better than me. Like, when is the game actually made? Is like they have most of it done before the Euros, or?
Yeah, like they would have had it done probably like a year or more in advance. But
okay,
like,
then in that case, fair, I guess. I mean,
but the ratings, I feel like that's really easy to tweak. I don't know. I just feel like this typically happens until he's a starter. I don't think he'll get the respect in the game that he deserves.
I really would be. Maybe we should get a EAFC developer on at some point. Are they allowed to speak publicly? Are they allowed to answer for their sins? Maybe they're not. I feel like there's so much anger about this game and no real like response to the feedback. But like, how hard would it be if like a player has a great Euros to like just turn up the dials on his play on his rating? You know?
Yeah.
Do they have to like reinvent the game? I'm sure it's easy because they do mid-season updates sometimes, so it can't be that hard.
No, I don't think it is. I just think that, like I said, they take these factors into consideration of like, they focus on the starting players first and rate them. Some are as we have seen, accurate, some are not. And then with the bench players, they just like, even Modric, he's getting old. He's gone down by like 2 or 3 over the last 2 years. Does he deserve necessarily to have that significant of a decrease? Probably not, considering he's like been very impactful for us on several occasions, but he's just not starting as much. So that's why he's like getting that downgrade. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, like if Arda at this point is like one of the best youngsters in football at the moment, unanimously. I think even Barca fans, besides like Lamine Yamal, I think even they would painfully agree that like he's up there with the few. So yeah, I don't know. I think this is my bold prediction. If he doesn't break into the 11, I think that he'll go up to about 84 or so, 83, 84, probably 83 next year. If he does manage to break into the 11, let's say he breaks into the 11 this season, has a super impactful year, we win the Champions League, whatever, he's going up to 86, 85, like without a doubt. He's making a huge jump. But I think I can't see him, like I said, it's same with Brahim. Like he probably deserves to be much higher, but I can't see him getting that increase without being in the starting 11.
I think it would be crazy that he wouldn't get an increase by next season. It would just not make sense if he didn't.
Mm.
The more interesting conversation is almost like, what do you think his ratings peak will be? Like FC 30. Does he get to like Jude range?
Yeah, I
you
think
so.
Yeah, I think it depends on like his career trajectory, because he's so like he's a baby. You know what I mean? So I respect what he's doing. I think that it might be hard for him. Actually, do you know what? He's got the talent. He's got the potential to break into the 11 right now. I think that right wing position between like Rodrigo, unfortunately, Brahim and him, I think there's a good fight there for like a starting position. I'd be curious to see what happens post Ancelotti, because as soon as you get another manager in there that doesn't have the same like favoritism, I love Rodrigo. Like I want to see him do well. It's no secret. Like when Vinny didn't play the other day, he played on the left. Like he's a world better on the left. And I just don't think he's gets his full potential on the right. And he just doesn't have that consistency. So I'd like to see what that looks like. And who, like, it could be a more fair chance to the three of them to like fight for that spot. He's young, so if he continues to wait for his moment, the problem is the rest of our attackers are also young. So like, it's not a situation anymore where like, Benzema's there and he's retiring soon or he's leaving, so eventually you'll get the chance. Like, essentially, like if Arda doesn't pull through in that right wing position, there has to be a significant change of formation and lineup or I think it's an injury or something, unfortunately, that he has to wait for. If he doesn't like push through the other two, I think he has the like if that was opposite, if that was like between Mbappe or Vinny, I think like tough luck at that point, count your blessings. Like you should probably look for a move if that's like the position that you want to play. I think it's unlikely that you're starting or you're even anyone on the bench, any Castilla player, like trying to push into the 11 over Vinny, Mbappe, Bellingham, 3 marquee signings. Like I think it's just not likely. So I think he has the opportunity, but I think it depends.
I mean, look, he has the competition. There's no question about that. He also has, I think, and as you mentioned, young competition. What he does have going for him is that he's got a unique profile compared to the players he's competing with, and he can potentially play in deeper roles, with which Ancelotti has experimented with, and I think he will continue to experiment with. So he has, and look, he's already played so much more, and of course, just the unfortunate fact that goes without saying that every day you just wake up with 100 players injured. So there's just going to be a lot of opportunities, I think. Quickly, Pranav says 73 and 23, 77 and 24, 78 and 25. So
he was like a bronze or silver in 23.
yeah. All right. So Guler, underrated, slightly underrated. Where are we putting him?
The thing is, like, I think as a player and them rating him, he would be severely underrated. But based on, again, the way that we know
how it works this season,
I would say underrated, somewhere in between slightly and severe.
I agree. And it has to do a little bit with the Euros. And I think they should have been able to adjust that after the Euros. Making his debut in the video game, Endrick, rated 77. His strongest attribute is his pace at 89. Obviously, he was not in the game 2 years ago, and I think that had a little bit to do with his age, but I'm not entirely sure.
His age in Brazil, they didn't have rights to Brazilian leagues, so they weren't in the game at all.
Okay.
Like Marcelo's not in the game this year. Everyone playing fly.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
77. I don't know. I'd be curious to know what you think. It's hard for me to kind of really take issue with this one.
Yeah, I don't know. I see it. He's a baby. Do I think he has the potential to be way higher? Yeah, I do. Have we seen that potential? Yeah, we have. But do I get it? Yeah, I do. You know, like your first card in FC is going to be low. You're young. You've just now signed with like the biggest club in the world. I think it'll make a jump next year to like 81 or 82. Like he's already, same thing. Like he's been impactful when he's played for us. Significantly impactful. So I think he'll get that increase, but I think he's better than a 77 rated player. And if you compare them, like I think he'd be better, but I'm not necessarily mad at 77.
The more interesting question to me is actually, what is the track record of players getting their first ever card from year to year? Like what's the highest we've seen?
Like the highest increase or like the highest?
No, like your very first, like your debut season in this game. It doesn't like, I'm assuming like no one probably gets a high rating in their first one.
No. That's the thing. I'd like to see. Well, no, I would say even like
what was Vinny?
He was low. He was like 79.
So like in that sense, I completely understand. Like, and it's not like he's done that much. Let's be honest. Like, look, he's had some moments. He had a pretty great season with Palmeiras, all things considered. Had that crazy like debut when he scored against England at Wembley.
Yeah.
But I don't know, for like a first card.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like I think it's
fine.
actually quite
I'm
good.
fine with it. Yeah.
Like he's a gold card. He's in the game. He's not like the base for gold cards is 75. So he's not the lowest. You know what I mean? He's 77 at like 17. He's 18 now, right? But like when the game came out, he was 17.
Yeah.
Or when the ratings were done, he was 17.
Yeah.
And like he's not bronze or he's not silver. So I think for his first card at his age, a 77 gold at 17 when like you're not starting for Real Madrid. I think, like I said, next year he'll be higher, but I'm good with it. I'm happy.
We have two more players, and 9 minutes left. I think we can actually do this.
It's a miracle.
Imagine if we had we ran out of time and our only player was Jacobo, and we had to do like a part 4 just for like 1 hour of Jacobo Ramon. Is he accurately rated? Ranked 2,871st in the game, Jesus Vallejo, who had a fall from grace recently against Alaves. After his heroic Superman performance against Manchester City. He's rated 7. He has a rating of 73, lost 2 points on defense and 1 point on physicality.
He's just probably a silver now, right?
I don't know what that means. You said that a few times. I pretended I know what you're talking about. I don't know what this silver bronze thing is that you keep referring to.
Like literally the color of the card. Yeah, he's silver. Yeah.
Oh, oh, okay, that's easy. Yeah, he is
Like
a
it's
silver.
just
So
like
he is.
silver, gold,
Everyone
bronze.
up until this point has been gold.
Yeah.
So he is the
Yeah,
first
he's
silver. Okay, got
Damn,
it.
last year for sure he was gold. Let me check. I would say. Listen, do I think he no. Last year he was silver also 74. What was he
Okay.
in 73?
Is there like a ratings threshold? Is it like 75 and up or something?
Yeah, 75 is gold.
Okay.
75 and up. Yeah, so in 23 he was 75, rare, non-rare gold. And then last year and this year he's gone down in rating, but he's been silver both years. Because he was silver last year, like I'm fine with that. Do I think that he's like as poor in real life as a silver? No, like he still got signed to Real Madrid. Like he's still, do you know what I mean? Like I'm okay with the gold, but do I agree with the decrease? Absolutely, I do. I was
Yeah.
on the Jesus Vallejo train after Manchester City. I was like, okay, this guy's a
Yeah.
legend. And now after
No,
conceding,
but like memes and jokes aside, I thought like after that we could at least see him as a squad player, which he is
yeah,
now, I guess. I mean, but like, look, the decrease totally makes sense to me because last year at Granada he played like 3 games, I think it was. So he had a combination of both physical and mental health issues. He didn't play. The decrease makes total sense, and it's just a sad situation.
a sad story. I feel bad for the guy, but I think
Yeah.
like
He
it's
is like one
probably
of the nicest guys. Like I'm not kidding. Like he is such a good guy, and so it makes it worse. But it is
yeah,
what it
that
is. That's
does
life.
make it worse. But I think it's probably fair, honestly. I think it's probably okay.
I'm okay with it.
Maybe 75, but like listen, I'm still not over 2 goals in 4 minutes. So 73 is good.
Like I'm looking at the defenders he's rated above,
Uh-huh.
and I honestly don't know who any of these players are. We're talking about like he's better than like Southampton's like backup center back. Like well, that's the
Damn.
territory. Yeah.
I think, to be honest,
Yeah.
I think it's a little harsh. I think it's probably a bit harsh. Like, well, maybe I don't know. Like, if you put him beside like a championship, like I think other championship center backs are like rated similar to him. So like if you put him beside that, like he still plays for Real Madrid. Like he's still a Real Madrid backup defender. He still played in a lot. But also he had like shocking loans everywhere he went to. So maybe he is championship level. I don't know. I digress.
This is well. So what, do we put him accurately rated?
Yeah, I would say. I think that's fine.
All right. This entire series has led us to this moment. Rated 11,128th in EAFC 25 with an overall rating of 64. The only bronze card in the squad, I believe probably making his debut as well in the game, although I could be wrong on that. Jacobo Ramon.
Poor guy.
I mean, what do
Again,
we say about this? I don't know what to say about it.
I don't really know. I
The
feel bad.
developer should have been watching preseason. He was very good. I would have given him a
Right?
64.5 at least.
Listen, I think that's probably one of the only. Is the rest of Castilla in the game? I don't think they are. So like, that's like he's considered a first team player with a bronze card. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Here for it. Good for him. Do you know what I mean? Because none of the other players that like I think Nico Paz is in the game now for Como. By the way, have you seen how well he's doing at Como?
He's looking good. I mean, all I'm seeing is player comps, which
yeah.
So, but he looks great in those.
That's great. Yeah. But yeah, so listen, it's the same thing as Endrick. Like probably his first card in the game for the Real Madrid's first team. Are you kidding? Like he's probably so happy with the rating. I think it's the same thing. He's young. He hasn't like really played for the first team yet. In like its truest form. So when we see him actually like not in preseason, like in and not on the bench, when he comes back from injury, I think we'll see more from him. But what I gather, like from the rest of the club is that they love him. Like, they're really impressed with the way he trains and the way he performs on the pitch. So, yeah, I think fairly rated. I think it's the same thing as Endrick. He's got to be happy with his first card for the first. He's the only one on Castilla that got a first team card, because I guess technically he was the only one called up to the first team. So
Is that so? I had a question about that. How did they decide he is the only guy who makes it into the squad?
I don't
Like,
know.
why was it him and not like Raul Asensio or Jean Martinez, who also played in
In
preseason?
Mhm.
Because Jacobo is not in Real Madrid's first team squad on the website either. So I thought maybe like I don't know, or maybe the club submits something to the. I don't know. It's not like I'm not angry about it. I was just curious to see how it works.
Yeah, no, I don't. I actually don't know either. I'm not sure exactly why they choose that or how they choose that. I'm looking now to see if there's other players from Castilla, because maybe that's just an oversight on mine, but I don't, because they would be on your list if there were. So, oh, no. Oh yeah, there's a few. There's a few. Vallejo. Oh, dang, poor guy. There is Alvaro Rodriguez is in the game for Real Madrid. Jacobo Noel Lopez de la Fuente. He's 62
So
bronze.
these guys, you can play as these guys if you pick
Yeah.
Real Madrid. Okay.
Yep.
So I'm on the EA.com, and the last player listed in the squad is Jacobo. So maybe they don't have everyone included that you
Yeah.
can actually play with.
But
In
even
that
this,
sense, I don't
there's
know
like
why they did it that way, but
3 or 4 more. It must be exactly what you said, the ones that were called up for preseason. Because I think all of them, like Alvaro Rodriguez, played minutes for us
Yeah.
last year as well, and in
Yeah.
preseason.
Okay.
Jesus Rainier, damn, poor guy. Like, his career is really gone, taken a tumble. De La Fuente too. I think he's probably played minutes for us at some point. So it must be like players that were called up to the first team within the last year, and played minutes within the last year.
Got it. Okay.
I don't know.
All right. Well, either way, we got this done with a minute to spare, which means Leah and I are officially done this series. EAFC player ratings, part 1 done, part 2 done, part 3 done. We are done. The trilogy is finished. Now we get to move on to new talking points. If you have ideas for Luke, I was thinking about something else. If you have ideas for Leah and I, please submit them. Leah and I are going to have a weekly segment, and it's going to be more fun things like this. Look, you can also not give us any ideas. That's fine, because we have so many ideas anyway, and we can talk about anything. But if you have any ideas and things you want us to do, like fun exercises, let us know. Rankings, ratings, whatever. Let us know. Leah, thank you. It was fun. It was great having you on the show. Enjoy the rest of the international break. And it's not that fun, but enjoy it regardless. Do some cool things. And guys, December 6th in Toronto, come play some football with us, raise some money for sick kids in Toronto, get some prizes, record a podcast. I'm going to be there. Mehedi's going to be there. And members of the Toronto Pena are going to be there. Madridistas are going to be there. Leah might get there. We're going to try. We're going to see if she can make it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Thanks, guys. Peace out.
Bye.
Later.
Yay.